One thing didn't work. Okay, hello guys. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Mike and I'm a teacher for VizAcademy. VizAcademy is an online school that will teach you how to create beautiful 3D renders based on, well, your projects and everything else. So, welcome to our webinar where we will be talking about exteriors and how to get that organic realism, because last time I noticed that a lot of you were interested in that one topic, how to set up the lighting and how to do all of those nice small elements at the same time. So I'm going to be quick to answer that you don't need to overdo it. That's a very good thing to know, and we're going to try to make sure that it's nice, easy, nonsense-free as always, because one thing I'm all about when dealing with 3D is I'm trying to make sure that everything I do is not going to be overly, overdone. So, for example, that's also one of the reasons why I'm going to be sending you out this scene that I'm literally finishing as we speak, because I just noticed that I deleted a couple of elements in it. And once the webinar is done, we're going to be giving you the starting point. So the starting point is going to look like this. We're going to have the building done and we're going to have a camera position. So I'm going to remove all the items in it so you can see where that we're starting from absolute scratch, and we're going to be resetting our settings. So basically that's where we will be starting, and we're going to be talking about today's topic, this exterior render. This was done by Sebastian Kawalec, our student with extraordinary talent. So today you're going to learn how he was able to achieve this amazing result, and we're going to analyze what can be done to achieve similar or maybe even better results. So good evening, maestro and everyone. Hello, nice. That's the name I like to hear. Hello, hello. Oh my God, so many of you are coming. So how are you? I'm perfectly fine. Savannah, thank you very much. I always love seeing you, Robin, and everybody else. So let's get into it, because mucho spico and a loto clico. I heard that last time, and now we're going to be getting into it. So before we really get into it, I actually need to say this because, you know, I'm Mike. So, my name is Mike and I'm a teacher for VizAcademy. VizAcademy is an online school that will teach you how to do beautiful 3D renders, not only using 3ds Max, Corona, and a sprinkle of Photoshop, but also we're now dealing with animations and one topic that is on everybody's minds, and that is AI. So, AI is not only the part where you want to dive into it, because VizMaker is a total game changer for 3D visuals and animation, but at the same time you also need to have the basics, and if you want to be more precise, VizAcademy. So VizAcademy 2.0 is here for you, and remember that we are starting our next group in a couple of weeks, so you might want to settle, or let's say reserve your seat, because we're running out. So hello from Sri Lanka, my friends are there, DJ, so nice to know that I have more friends there now. Hello to you too, Vlad. Okay, let's get into it. So as I said, we're going to be working on this scene, and I don't think we're going to do much other than reset all the materials so everybody can follow along, and it's going to be nice and easy for us to apply all of the principles. And at the same time, the materials that we actually need to focus on will be, well, disclosed later. So let's get into it. First thing, if you are dealing with a scene that you already have materials on and you don't want to add a placeholder material, what you can do is go to utilities and find something that nobody ever uses, but I do. So that's going to be so-called UV remove. It's meant to remove the UVW mapping, and it can be found in the max standard, but for some reason it's not here. So you have to drag and drop it to the spot where you want it, then clickety-click OK, and go for UVW remove. Here we've got two options. We're going to be either clicking on UVW remove, which means that we're removing all the mapping, or we're going to be clicking on materials, and we're going to be now clicking that. Another bonus point that you can do, and I already did that, is set as gray, because this way all the objects are going to be grayed out if you need that. Vlad, hello to you too, but if you could, from Uzbekistan, I want to go to your new university. Join us, but please try not to spam. It's going to be better if you don't, but I do appreciate the enthusiasm. Now, let's talk about the camera, because the camera is going to be something that you're also going to be given, so nothing special about it, because we don't overthink it. We do a straightforward rendering, and everything that needs to be done is going to be just a simple repositioning for another angles. Okay, as for the render elements, we can, but we don't need to use anything. And once and again, we're going to be resetting absolutely everything in 3ds Max to ensure that we've got everything by the book. So I could just restart the scene, and I think I'm going to do that, but it's going to actually cost us more time to do so. So I'm going to delete all of the additional elements, because quite frankly, I was working on this scene up until the very last moment of our webinar, because I wanted to make sure that we're going to have the exact settings that I wanted. And sorry for that, but we're now starting fresh. Hi to you too again. Guys, tell me a little bit, what brings you here? Did you click on the video? Did you hear about us from a friend? And also, what software are you using on your daily basis, or are you just getting started? Because right now, for people that want to get started and start their journey with 3ds Max, we have a super special thing, and that is because AI is the best thing you can really think of when you're thinking about the new adventures and new endeavors, because AI just helps you out. Also, you're going to be given the backdrop, so we can base our image on something, and this backdrop again is done by nobody else but Sebastian. So Sebastian Kawalec, thank you once again for this beautiful scene, and let's get into it. Now, I hope you are doing well. I just wanted to ask if the membership issue has been resolved yet, or if the members section is still suspended. It is still suspended, and we are talking to YouTube to unsuspend it because of the content that we're creating. They thought that some of it might be repeating, but also it's due to the fact that partially adding elements involving AI into our stream is also something that they don't like, because they want to have just raw data to teach their AIs on, and they kind of didn't like our new approach. So on one hand, yes. On the other hand, yes. We're working on it still. So I was notified by YouTube and finally found the Academy, which is nice. Thank you, Gavon. It's really amazing to have you. Hello, sir. Been a while. It's been a while, and we're back. So you've probably noticed. And now, how can I get the this scene? I want to repeat after you. Vlad, you're going to be able to get the scene, but please, just one post at a time. I promise I will be able to read this. I don't want to give you any kind of timeouts, because that's not fun. So please, just one post. I promise I'm reading your chat. So the scene is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, so you're going to be able to get your hands on it the same way we did the last time. So view the channel. Excuse me? Try again. Now let's go to posts, and you're going to find the post here in place of this one, which was a week ago. Here you're going to be able to click on the link and download every material that I mentioned that I'm going to be giving you. Is Dutch for just, and okay, so just Roy. Hey, that's so cool. Okay, so let's get started. Now, for the third time, we're going to be doing the following. We will be clicking on the ground a lot. We're going to be creating the moss. We're going to be working with multiple trees and multiple objects. First thing we're going to be building is obviously the environment. We need to start with the ground. As you can see, the ground is quite unusual. So I'm going to try to mimic what my student did, but I'm not going to be 100% accurate because, you know, we're working creatively. At the same time, you can see that he strategically placed a couple of objects in the scene, which is amazing, and kudos to you, Sebastian, that's amazing. And again, we're going to be also adding those elements here with a slight touch of randomization, and we're going to be doing a nice cutout between our objects and our ground. So I'm going to show you something that you're probably going to say, hey, I wish I knew it earlier, but I didn't, and now I do, and I'm that much smarter. So I'm waiting for you to type this in. Okay, but later. And also we're going to be analyzing materials and lighting for the building, what can be what is important and what is not. RTX 3070 Aorus Master, is it good enough for 3ds Max and AutoCAD? It is more than enough, and honestly 3ds Max doesn't require that much GPU, and with newer current technology, your scenes won't need that much time to render. And remember, Corona is based on your CPU, so your processor takes the more important place in your computer build. I am using Ryzen 9 9950X, which is a fairly I would say affordable processor, especially now when everything is a little bit more expensive due to the shortage of RAM. Now, let's go ahead and analyze the scene a little bit further. I made sure to dumb down the building as much as I can to make sure that it's simplified, it's easy, and everything is super easy. One thing that you need to know is that whenever you're working with your clients, you don't want to specifically build everything by the book. I mean, if you're getting an AutoCAD file and you're only going to be creating 1 or 2 angles out of your building, let's say here and here, whatever is here, it doesn't concern you. So we're going to be building all, typically you must remember that you only build and you only focus on what is visible in the camera. That is why this part isn't even finished. It just helps you save a little bit of time. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is never do something that's unnecessary for the scene. So for me, I'm going to first create the plane, and we're going to see how much of this ground I really need, because what's going to be important in most of your work is strategic approach to those elements that require much more work than usual. So if we're looking at this, you can clearly tell that there's a small slope on the ground. So I'm going to be putting this a little bit higher to make sure that the slope is easier. And think about it this way. If we put our ground, even if it's supposed to be flat, a little bit at an angle, we can put a bit more into it. And it's also going to allow us to see more because we're basically giving a bit more slope angle. So it's really important that we make sure that we show as much as we can, but only what we want. Is Corona better than D5 render? You cannot really compare the two as which one is better. It's comparable. It's just as good in both hands, in hands of capable artists. So D5 render is not a bad software. It's absolutely okay. It's good, and I don't think that saying which one is better is the right way of approaching it. The question is which one suits your workflow better. So for me, because I like precision, I like 3D modeling, and I mostly I want to work within one environment, 3ds Max is the better software for me. Although, again, 5D render is not bad, it's good, it has so many cool features that I really think that other software should be copying. For example, the animated material, which is absolutely fantastic. So there's so many good things in it that it's really hard to say which one is better and which one is worse. Okay. Now, another thing that I like doing with my exteriors is VizMaker Free. It's a subscription-based software, but you can test it for free, and in grand scheme of things, it speeds up your work so much that the amount that you pay for per project in this kind of subscription, it just is something that you're going to get back in within minutes. Okay, so we've got our camera, and because I'm going to be working with what I said, only the area that I want to see, during our training we also teach our students how to use AI based on VizMaker, but we also allow you guys to use anything else, but the principles that we teach you will work independently of the software. Do you think 5D render is comparable to Corona? Again, DJ, I think it is in many ways. I'll tell you one thing that I shouldn't necessarily say during this live stream. I once planned on creating a video where I'm going to be saying why the E5 render is bad and we shouldn't be using it, but then I actually really tested it, and the result was it's not bad. It's good software. So I decided not to create the video because in reality, it's actually a very cool software. Okay, so the very first thing, once we have our ground, is to ensure that we have enough topology to work with. So I'm going to be working with a couple of turbo smooths first to make sure that I have enough. Then I'm going to jump into my camera, and we can do one of two things. Either we're going to be grabbing the ground as I did right now, and just in my viewport, I'm going to be selecting what I need. This is kind of hunga-bunga, and I know that it's not necessarily the most professional way of doing this, but it serves the purpose. It exactly selects what I need, and I can grow it a couple of times to make sure that I haven't selected too little. So now I'm going to go to mesh smooth, and I'm only going to be adding more detail to the areas that I'm actually interested in. And just because my inner beauty is suffering, I'm just going to try to go for additional selection here just for funsies. Now let's go for mesh smooth again, and now you can see that we've got a distinguishable difference between the what camera sees and what camera doesn't see. So that's going to be very important for us, because here I don't need any detail, I just need topology, and here I need detail and topology, so that's going to be important. Now once we're past that point, we're going to move on to the next one. Looking at the reference, we kind of can see that there's a flatter area here and a little bit of that around, so we kind of need to create those trenches almost, so that's going to be very important for the whole build. So in here, I'm going to make sure to select the area that is in front of me again, and I'm going to flatten that area just a little bit by simply scaling it down. But I cannot scale it down like this because I'm going to create a lot of unnecessary geometry errors. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select the following. We select the geometry, look for soft selection, use soft selection, and give us a little bit of softer transition. Now you can see that I've added this nice transition all the way. It's barely visible due to the fact that, well, it's very subtle, but it's going to help us get through it. Okay, I'm creating scenes building on the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as simulation. 3ds Max is my go-to. What? Of course, keep in mind that poly counts are the row calls. Oh my god, this is so cool. This is one of the coolest alternative applications I've ever heard about. You're so cool, Just Roy. So I'm using V-Ray for 10 years, and I'm now starting to be in love with Corona. Sherwin, I can say that I was in the same boat as you are, but I switched to Corona 10 years ago, and that's why I got this good boy cup, 10 years of Corona from Chaos, and this is something that I really want to emphasize that once Corona came out, I was hooked up, and I really was hooked up. I never looked back. It was my go-to software ever since, and I really don't regret it. So yeah, you won't regret it either. Okay, so now we want to work around those areas that we just established. So for that, I'm going to go all the way to the editable poly at the bottom and select push and pull. So push and pull isn't really something new. You probably heard about sculpting, but you can now do, you can since forever do it in 3ds Max, but nobody uses it. I like using it because it's fast and easy. The problem is that it's not exactly the smartest. So we're going to be using this brush size 10. No, sorry, push-pull value of 5. Let's go for 7. And brush size, let's go for 60 or some. Actually, let's go for 150. This looks good. Now, lol, I just broke VizMaker. You did? My god. So fast? Nice. So, okay, we're going to be sculpting a little bit, but okay, I need to change the view to default shading and maybe add a little bit more of push-pull value. Okay, what's going on here? Am I pushing, pulling? No. Once again, push-pull values. Come on. Oh, brush strength was 0. That's my bad. Okay, we're now doing this to make sure that we've got a little bit of extra terrain different terrain all around. So we want this to have some sort of imperfections. Remember that bedwood, when we're ever outside touching grass, right? We're going to need to make sure that everything around us has some kind of logical approach. And we're going to be leaving this road that we established to make sure that it's going to also make sense. So now it's going to look absolutely amazing, and it's nice, easy. If you've overdid it or you overshot, you can always go for relaxation, and with that we're going to be able to get the right amount all over the place. And now looking at the ground, you can already tell that it's much more interesting. But the reason why we added all of that extra near our camera is to make sure that we actually add that extra near our camera. So push-pull value goes down, and we're going to be working with smaller brush to make sure that there's more happening closer to our camera. It's still going to be somewhat obscured by every green element that we're going to be adding and rocks, but it's going to be very helpful to have a good base. So that's how we start this kind of terrain. Now the next step is to find the filler objects that we're going to be using to basically create our composition. But before we really get into it, I think it's going to be fair to set up some kind of lighting, because for now we have nothing in our environment and everything is black. So we're going to start with the very basic setup of Corona sky and very simple sun. So once we do that, I'm going to show you a trick that's going to absolutely blow your mind. First, minus 0.5 in exposition, because I want to see everything. And once we're here, I can notice that this hump is a little bit too much. So maybe I'm going to lower it, but at the same time, I might be just putting a 3 on it. So we're going to leave it the way it is. Okay, so everything looks okay-ish, so I'm going to continue. You can try noise modifier, but I use push-pull and I'm gonna look more natural. Yes, so in this case, that's also one of the reasons why we're using so much topology. So whenever we do just this, it's fine, but if you're planning on just using the noise, I strongly recommend you to do what we did at the very beginning. Select what you need to stay consistent with what you've created. Now go to soft selection, use soft selection, maybe grow it a couple of times, deselect, and now we're going to be lowering the input of the noise. So this way, we're going to get a little bit more of that noise around everything, but you want to have some control over what you're getting. So that's why I chose to use a manual push-pull method, because I wanted to make sure that it's going to be 100% clear. Guys, do you know CIU, Central Asian University? I heard about it, but I don't know anybody from it. So Or maybe I have a couple of students from there, but it's not like I personally have anything to do with that university. So let's go for that. And now we're going to continue. Keep the hearts coming. It looks good. So let's go ahead and add a couple of first objects. So we're going to be using the flower meadow. So we're going to be editing this in a second, because that's going to be quite an important aspect of our scene overall. Or we're going to be cheating, and I'm going to be using the same model I've pre-prepared, but they're basically the same. So we're going to do one or the other. Now, the thing we're going to be looking for is the rocks. The rocks are super important for this. So let's go ahead. Rock. Okay. You. Done. Okay, so we're going to be using those pebbles and we're going to be enlarging them. So this is going to be quite an easy task. So in order to make sure, oh my God, you guys are crazy. So many hearts today. Lovely people. Okay, so let's add a little bit of scaling, and we're going to be placing those rocks strategically as always. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that we position this somewhere here. And because the rock is going to be kind of big and I don't want it to be hanging, I'm going to be rotating it and melting it into the ground a little bit. Later, I'm going to show you a very cool push-pull trick that will absolutely obliterate your feelings about those rocks, because right now I can already hear you saying, hey, but those rocks aren't necessarily correctly positioned and the ground around it is not exactly modified by those rocks. And yes, we will modify the ground. Okay. Let's rotate those a little bit, because remember, rotation is the best scattering method, and we kind of have it now. I think I'm going to replace those two with their position. I like this one more. Closer to the camera, it looks so cool. Okay, and melt you down into the ground. Okay, so this looks absolutely gorgeous, and we kind of need it even closer. So I'm going to make it smaller and closer to the camera, so we can put some moss on it later on. Rock. Okay, so we're going to be doing this continuously. So let's go ahead and hide this for a second. 1. Okay, perfect. So it should be easy. We're just going to grab the two, position, scale them down, and reposition them so that they fit the ground a little bit better. Again, we're going to be positioning those rocks in not really paying attention to those organic elements. Remember that whenever you're working with objects that by default are extremely organic, you don't necessarily want to overdo the positioning. You don't want to play around with all the details, because it just doesn't make sense to have a super squishy, mushy element that's going to be just created specifically by the book. It's just organic, right? So we want to keep it that way. Okay, this one is going to be a little smaller, and I think by default we're going to have a really nice view here, but we need to make sure that this also works. So let's put the ground a little bit lower, and now I am absolutely thrilled about this. Okay, maybe let's put you lower and also in front, just a copy. Go on, shift and copy. Okay, now to avoid repetition, got it, and we've perfectly aligned it. I am now close to crashing 3ds Max, so I'm going to save incremental. Not sponsored by the way. 3ds Max first choice VizAcademy UK in my opinion. Thank you so much, and yeah, we cannot afford sponsoring. Hi Mike, I hope you are having a great day. Luca, I am. Thank you so much for coming in. How are you? Hello sir, can we make a career in 3D visualization? How can we find clients? Where can we find clients quickly? So the best and fastest way of finding clients is your circle. If you're you probably have friends, you probably have people in your life that will be building, will be renovating, will be doing something. So that's basically the best recipe I can give you. Make sure to talk to your peers, talk to your friends, ask them if they maybe by any chance need this kind of service. If they do, they will help you gain the experience and traction. That's really the easiest and fastest way of doing stuff. So now we're going to be creating those walkers. So we're just going to walking stones, if you can call them that way, and we're going to be using array for that. Now you can see that we've got a little bit of that ground going on, a little bit of curvature. So one of the ways we can basically mitigate that is simply go for the modifier that's going to be conform, and we're going to be able to conform on z-axis to the object based on what we have in here. So we can move this around and get the nice conform to the model itself, but we need to make sure that we work with the right fall off and influence to put it in the right position. The problem is that if we are trying to put a totally flat object like this onto a different surface, at some point we're going to run into a very weird problem where the volume shrink wrap, okay, where if we go too far, it's just going to be melting in, and if we go too close, not everything is going to be there. So in this case, we're going to go for positive value, and we should be able to get the right influence using the normals. So closest, and we're good to go. Okay, no, it still got flattened. So why are you doing this to me, 3ds Max? We talked about this. You don't do it to me. Okay, this should work. Convert to the poly. The last one is absolutely obliterated, so I'm going to have to manually correct it because the modifier is no, the object was slightly outside. That's what why it was broken. So basically we're going to put it here, and I can now select the whole thing one by one or all together, and we're going to be moving it slightly upwards, and now we're going to have the perfect follow up on the path. So it's really easier to do it this way because I don't want to manually correct every piece of geometry whatsoever. What does conform do again? Conform allows you to melt or bend another object onto a surface of another. So for example, if you have some kind of fancy shape that you want to imprint on an object, you can just do it by simply using this modifier. So let's say we've got a star, right? So let's go for the star, and now I want to make sure that the star is going to be on top of my sphere. The first thing I'm going to be doing in order to ensure that it's going to look absolutely perfect is scale it down a little bit. Actually, let's use regular values because scaling doesn't help in many cases. And now we're going to go for conform, and conform, pick object on the right axis, and you can see that now the object conforms to it. Now, in order to make sure that it conforms correctly, before adding it, I'm going to also add normalized spline modifier, which I'm going to be adding more value to, or I could divide the element into more parts, and you can now see that it's basically perfectly conformed to the surface of the object. Essentially, that's what we did with those stairs to make sure that the surfaces are going to be nice and easy. Hello, Mike. Third time saying hi in my messages goes disappear in spamming. So impossible. I don't. Asim, hello, nice to see you. Sorry, I didn't see it. How do I do I be pro in 3ds Max? Stay tuned and and follow my my tutorials. So I see that you guys are talking today. Nice to see this. Okay, let's change this color because it's annoying me to gray, and now it's great. Do you teach these modeling tools in your course? Yes, we do, and we go over much more than that. During our classes, we go over specific types of models. We go over models and also we go per request topics. So that's something that we do a lot because you guys will have different types of careers in mind. Some of you are going to be clearly architects, some of you are going to be working with ArchViz, some of you are going to be planning on working with just general design. And I want to make sure that we accommodate all of you in a sense that we're going to be giving you a chance to learn what you're actually going to be using in your career. Because let's be honest, 3ds Max or the 3D software topic is very, very broad, and just going and putting everybody into the same on the same boat and making you all follow the same formula, it's, as the name suggests, formulaic, and it doesn't really provide you with the right tools. So for example, we have students very often, we have students that will be working with furniture, students that will be working with architecture, and for example, right now, my student that's Peter. I don't know if I can actually name him, but Peter is working for a company, or he runs a company that specifically designs staircases, which is super amazing. But in architectural field, it's not exactly niche, but in 3D, it's absolute niche. So we need to make sure that we accommodate that, because he came to us to learn the specific skill. The conform trick was simple but so good. I love this little tips and tricks scattered through the streams. Thank you, Matsebi. I cannot read your name, but I really appreciate you. That's so nice to hear that those words of encouragement. Hi, Mike. I'm Ahmed. Hope you remember me. Yes, I do, but I am going to be honest. You're not the only Ahmed I had in my classes, so you need to be more specific. DM me on Telegram so we can go. So I can actually show some of your work if you want. Let's go. Now, once we've got our steps, and sorry for not describing you the scaling process, because I think that using scaling tool isn't necessarily that exciting. But what we're going to, the thing that's going to make it exciting is the next step. Subdivide is the thing we're going to be doing, and we're going to be changing the subdivide form into adaptive. That adds some geometry to our objects, and we're going to be adding smaller incremental values. Don't go too far. Don't just go one step at a time. Make sure that you give your computer a little bit of time to calculate. Because if you're going to go for super low value too fast, the problem is that you might overshoot it and 3ds Max is going to go. So we don't want it, because all 3D software is really known for one thing: crashing, and that's what we want to avoid. So let's help it stay afloat and not crash it today. Okay, so noise works absolutely fantastic here. What I'm doing is adding a little bit of more natural form to those rocks. This is important just for the sake of putting this in a field of natural objects or natural rocks, and I want this to absolutely have those small imperfections that I'm going to be capitalizing on, either by adding chamfer or corona around edges next step. So this is going to be basically it. I mentioned that I'm going to be creating the lighting very early on, and that's exactly what we're going to be focusing on now. Because if we now create a simple corona sun, once we basically have a little bit of our setup, we're now going to notice one not necessarily problematic, but definitely omitted element in most of work ever. So we've got almost 45 degrees sun. I'm not going to be super specific about it yet, but if we now create this, everything is overburned, everything has too much lighting, and we need to block it out. And to block it, we need to use the proper tools. And the most proper tool for that is obviously going to be geometry. So how do we add the geometry, and where do we put it? Where do we get it? That's obviously going to be a ton of pine trees, and well, for that I like to start from smaller geometry, from bigger geometry for the environment, because at the moment, if we think about the building alone and put the material override on it for a second, or actually there's just one material on it, so let's go ahead and make it it slightly darker for a second. If I'm going to make this building a little bit darker, and we're going to work with somewhat grayish tones on it, it's going to be clear that it's still too bright to everything, right? It's a good start, but the lighting, although looking good, needs some corrections. And the only way we can correct it is by adding objects into the scene. Just trees alone, if we try to create a huge forest around it, it's going to work, yes, but it's also going to cost us a ton of time to produce. So I'm going to be using this this bush, and we're going to be using a couple of this pinus, pinus. Pinus. Let's go ahead and continue that. Yes, I'm 12. So we've got those two trees, and we're going to be using those as the smaller ones. But we also need to use pine trees because that's what we saw all around. I do enjoy working on 3ds Max Corona so much so that now I'm developing architectural plan rendered on 3ds Max on top of view rendered with Corona. Ahmed, that sounds awesome. Honestly, DM me. We'll just give you a shout out because, you know, I always love my students. Okay, let's continue. Hey Thor, how's it going? Let's continue. Now, one thing I hate, I don't know if they changed it, or was it just 3ds Max? All the windows, when you click in 3ds Max, they come and they go if you click on them. While for some reason, Chaos Cosmos is a independent browser, so you have to close it each time when you open it. But if you minimize it, it's not going to come back, while other windows will. And that's something that I hate. That was the first time I see you going off script like that. No, you probably haven't watched enough streams then. Let's go ahead. There's no script. Let's continue. Let's go ahead and go for vegetation, download it, and let's see what else we have. Okay, pine. What's absolutely mesmerizing in 3D is that you just need this tree and this tree and basically maybe another one, but it's basically those two that's going to be enough for 90% of scenes like this. You can add one random tree that you're going to be manually positioning, but it's just going to be really super simple. So once again, guys, if you want to become my students, please feel free to visit our website, VizAcademy Co. UK, and sign up to our training today. We teach you how to create 3D visuals for interiors, exteriors, and if you want to apply, go ahead and click it now. Soon we're going to launch a couple of additional topics in our during our webinars, and that also includes the topic that everybody was awaiting for, marketing. So we already have some questions in our chat where you asked, hey, how do I get clients? That's exactly it, and one of our CEOs is responsible for those videos, so you know it's good. And now we're going to be using those two trees. One of the trees goes behind because we're going to be adding those as reflectors and something that's going to look good. One thing you need to absolutely remember about 3ds Max is that you never ever respect the assets. What I mean by this is once you downloaded something, treat it as your own, like the younger sibling that you hated, and just punch it down until it absolutely looks the way you want. So that's why, no, don't punch your siblings. But you know what I mean. You just need to make sure to work with that. Unfortunately, the training program is somewhat more than I expected. Well, in that case, all I can say is stay tuned, because here we're also sharing a lot of valuable knowledge, and you're more than welcome to stay here, and it's going to be a pleasure to have you in our audience. So Mike is good to drop vray and just learning Corona and focus only on exteriors, as I like doing exteriors to start earning from ArcViz. Asim, I will say this. First, you don't necessarily need to drop V-Ray, drop Corona, drop anything, just build your client base. As soon as you earn at least half of what you do in your daily job by doing the extra work with ArcViz, just start doing ArcViz full time, because that's how I did it. And I believe that everybody can follow along this very simple trajectory. Do you suggest subscribing to the channel? Is there more? Well, if you're asking me, yes, there's approximately 150 videos like this and more, where you're always going to find a couple of nuggets of knowledge that you basically can follow along. Hi mate, I learned Corona from your tutorials back in 2020. I have been making images ever since and running my own small studio for the past 2 years. Thanks to the tutorials. Wow. Wow. Placed by Paul. Thank you, Paul. I absolutely appreciate you saying this, because this basically answers the previous questions. So wow, thank you so much. This is wow. Guys, I am absolutely loving this webinar. Today, you guys are super duper active. Please keep it coming. Now, you can see that I'm working with those trees. I want to specifically position them in somewhat accurate manner, but I don't want to overdo it. And there are a couple of ways where we can either use scatter for that or other built-in methods. So one of the methods that I like using for positioning trees strategically whenever I need them is to simply go to the ribbon. And in ribbon, we're going to have object painting. With object painting, we can now copy the proxies in a very simple manner. So it looks like this. Paint with selected objects, go. And now if I'm going to try to paint, you can see that I'm literally copying hundreds of the trees into the scene. So I'm going to do that, but I want to drop a tree here. So that's going to allow me to give it that small instance. Also, I want another tree somewhere around here, and I want another somewhere around here. So I don't need to copy paste them all the time. I can just drop them down as if I would be painting. Obviously, those as soon as I click away, those are now going to be editables. So I can drop down their scale, their values, whatever I need. I think this one is going to be a bit too much. So let's delete you. Also, let's move you a little bit to the left, and we're going to need the second tree, which is much slimmer, to help us get the right values. So in this case, the other way I would approach this from is using my select and place tool, shift and drag it down. Again, the simplest thing you can do is just position those objects in more natural manner and scale them down. You want to not overdo it, because obviously those are still trees, not some kind of weird objects. Okay, here's the tip that everybody's probably going to enjoy. Once you're done with positioning your model, you can convert it to editable poly or mesh, and from here you don't need to do much, but for example, we can add a bend modifier and simply bend it the right direction. So I'm going to go for something like this to just show you how easy it is to add more organic looking trees. So not all of them are just the same way, but we're going to see something extra. So 35 degrees on the right axis or at the right angle is going to be the right approach. So now I'm going to have a slightly arched tree, so it's going to be a little bit more natural again, but you can also limit the effect, and by simply changing that one element at a time, we're going to be either able to change the bottom of our object or its top. So we can essentially decide where the object or where the effect starts. So I'm going to be doing this. Let's copy you here. And the coolest thing ever is that once you're here, I'm going to be independently rotating the bend, and now we've got a totally new tree. Or look at that. I do this bending trick in some cases. I do too. Now we can scale this down and maybe actually scale it up, because I don't want this to be too much in my face. So let's do this. Copy you here, delete the bending. Now we're going to be doing that. I just need a couple of those trees here, just so they're in front of my screen, because remember, this is more designing. Oh my god, I was rendering for the whole time. That's why I was lagging a little bit, but at least it's here. So now, with just a couple of trees, we already have most of the mood that we were going for. You did tree on the tree. What? I did this bending trick. Would you suggest any online course for learning Revit? Not at the moment, but we're still developing our training for Revit. So soon it's going to be online. But at the moment, we I can DM me again and I'll show you what I mean, because I cannot tell you any 3D. 3D, okay, that actually makes sense, love it. Okay, so as for the painting, we're going to do the exact same thing with those objects, just so we can populate the scene a little bit better. And then we're going to start adding, now I get it, object paint, object painting, and I'm going to be painting with those objects. But this time I'm going to be still clicking not with the additional spacing, but I could just add 60 or 70 centimeters difference between them. So now if I paint, you can see that it's looking kind of okay. But at the same time, I'm going to go for randomization 360 in our in the rotation settings. Also, we can go for 15% in XYZ rotation, because why not? It's just going to make them appear more natural, but you can see that it looks quite cool whenever we do it. So the next thing is some of the scaling. So in scale, we're going to randomize it again, and we're going to be doing just from to, let's say, 75 to 110% of the model. So probably I'm going to regret that. Here, the 60 works really fine. So what else can we do here? So something that you want to always keep in mind is that once you start painting, once you click away, it's going to turn off. So in this case, I'm just going to try to do a very simple painting here, a little bit there. And now we're going to try to get the third. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to do here, here, and here. That's so simple, right? You cannot paint in proxies because proxies are not counted at what? Okay, I take it back. You can paint on proxies. You weren't used to able to, but that changed. So now we're just going to be strategically positioning some of those trees. And why am I not using scatter? Because scatter at the moment is going to be redundant for me. I just need a couple of those trees here and there. I don't need the scatter just yet. Scatter is going to be used for a different type of work. So come on, big tree, big tree, big tree. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Okay, big. Big. Thank you. Okay, now we got it just as I planned, just perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and add a couple of extras. So just to fill the places, right? Again, I'm trying to make sure that we're using as many assets as we need, not more. So chaos scatter is going to be good, but it's not going to, it could give me that precision because it also has the painting method. But why not just skip that part and go straight to the point and position a couple of proxies here? Now we're going to do two very cool tricks. The first trick is going to be related to creating pebbles and roads. So this is where the actual webinar starts. So now everybody can basically start enjoying it even more. So we're going to be using the ground that we have here, and we're going to be creating some sort of shape. I want to make sure that there's a lot of pebbles in here, and I want to make sure that those are going to be exactly the way I want it. So I'm going to use freehand painting. You might know that it's actually possible to use freehand on an object, but I don't use it because it's not going to be necessary for me in this instance. Okay, so here, because freehand is an absolute abomination in 3ds Max, once you start using using it, you're going to notice one thing. It also has a gigantic, an enormous amount of those polygons that you're going to probably hate. In most of the cases, it's not a big deal, but sometimes if you're going to be tight on your RAM budget, you want to at least add normalized spline or optimized spline. Normalized spline is better for me because it kind of also gives this your model a little bit of that more organic, smoother look, where if we increase the distance, it's just going to simplify the shape. But if we decrease the leg length, we're going to basically give it even more points. I'm going to leave it here because I want it to be somewhat evened out, and we're going to convert this to editable spline. Okay, next step is going to be, let's say, using scatter. So we're going to be using one of those two models. I think this is going to be good enough, but at the same time, it doesn't matter which dandelion we're going to be using. So we can use this one because it's already done, but basically we need to make sure that it's a nice thin object with multiple small dandelions. You can get the same result by editing poly this and just cutting away some of the excess, just leaving a little bit less than you had previously. So basically we're going to be, thank you. So basically we're going to be doing this. Oh, we basically did it, right? So now we can use both. I'm going to use either. Actually, we're probably going to be using both. Okay, so here we go. We go for chaos scatter. It's not Corona any longer. It's just chaos. So here we go. We clickety click on our object. By the way, guys, how long are you using 3ds Max? What other sources do you use to learn? Because I know there are other people that do the same thing that I do. I'm just the best. So let me know what else do you like watching, or who else do you like watching? So here we're going to be clicking on exclude for the spline because we want to make sure that now the object or the area is fully excluded. We want to create a nice carpet-like appearance on the ground. We're leaving out nothing. We're making sure that everything is covered. So we need a ton, a billion gazillion objects in our scatter. And best way of over-scattering objects in our scene is to first change the count to 1, then use per square value, and then just click away. Just go ahead and add a couple of those clicks, and now we basically have it nearly perfectly done. So we're already getting the result I was hoping for. So okay, let's count 2. Okay, love it. Here we kind of need more of those objects on the left, so I'm going to make sure that I adjust my shape a little bit. So let's descatter this. Okay, object selected, editable spline, and we're going to be moving our spline into this area a little bit. Okay, and let's delete a couple of edges. Basically, I'm just hoping that it's going to allow me to get that. That's exactly what I wanted. Now this looks good, and I think we're going to try adding additional thing, because a lot of you asked me last webinar we did on exteriors how to properly use the exclude and include, and how do you actually think about it. So this is something that I just recently also talked about during our classes, so this really hits close to home. So we've got two values, value near and value far. So I'm going to try using, oh, Giacomo, welcome. So this is my student's work. Okay. Okay, let's see. So we've got the value near and far. So it looks like this. We've got, let's say, some sort of shape. This shape is the exclude shape, right? So let's give it a bit better color so you can actually see it. Oh yeah, that was so much better. Let's make it thicker. Okay, so this is the shape, right? This is a closed shape. The inside is also going to be closed. Okay, so now we've got two values. One value is going to be calculated and treated as near, and far. So those are going to treat this as two separate colors. So here we go. The value near means that the near color is going to go from the shape till some kind of value. So for example, if we're going to apply the near value to be the red color, if we're going to apply it to be, let's say, 15 centimeters, it's going to create a gradient of influence around here. And it's going to be very thick, but then enter the far value. So the far value is basically how long does it take this color to change from the edge to the second color in a gradient. So it means that if we're going to set up our gradient as let's say 50, it's just going to be the transaction between the two. It's going to slowly change the value. So the more we increase the near value, the more near or zero value we're going to have, while the blue, the gradient, is going to progressively change the influence depending on the value. Typically, you want to keep the value bigger or smaller depending on what you want to achieve. So going back to our scene and our shape to visualize it a little bit better, I'm going to do something that I always recommend you not to do, and increase the direct visibility of my objects. So let's go for the full. So let's go full ham, and now we're going to go for 100,000 objects, and you can see that it looks awful. Now all of those objects are 100% scaled. Let's actually go for box. It's going to be visually more informative. Now if I select my shape or the scatter, we're going to be able to actually set up our values. So the value of near and far. Select the object we have in question, and the value near means that we're essentially moving away the zero, so scale of 0, right? So it's most of the time redundant, but if we go for the value far, you can see that this is the gradient that changes the influence of that second material. So we can basically give our shape an outline or not. And also we can change the scaling if we want to. So it's basically going to allow us to cut in both ways, but then it defeats the purpose of actually having the near value. So it's just going to be a good way of adjusting some of those smaller properties. And now let's go ahead and go for those smaller values of instances. Just 10,000 is enough. And now we're going to have enough. I started learning 3ds Max in late 2021, watched many YouTube videos for modeling and materials, but very good tips, tricks from watching your videos and live streams are cherry on the top. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You guys were awesome. Now, since this topic was also during my training, our training just recently, let's just go ahead and now show you a way on how to do a seamless transition of two materials, which is going to use the same near-far principle that we just did. I should have started with that because it's going to be more visually informative, but at the same time, you're still going to enjoy it. So here we go. We go ahead and now we need two materials, one for the soil, one for the pebbles. Nope. Online, let's see, pebble. Well, would do, but I think the scatter could do as well. I just don't want to overdo it. Guys, am I allowed to use materials that my student created? I think I'm just going to steal a texture and then I'm going to do something about it because this one looks extremely flat. Let's test it. If it's good, we're going to keep it. If it's not, I'm going to do something else. Chaos Scatter didn't have a near and far at the last time I used it, only been using Forest Pack. Maybe don't need Forest Pack anymore. Honestly, although you can clearly see that I have it installed, I don't use it. I have it because we use it in our studio and I kind of need to be up to date with it, but I honestly don't think the Forest Pack is anything to really go by any longer. I mean, it's good, but it has, Chaos Scatter has everything you need, like everything. It's better for me now when we have the libraries, and it just comes in pack with Corona. And one thing that was a huge game changer for me was this, because now we can extend the view a little bit and we can scatter only what we need, what the camera sees. That's exactly what this scatter was missing. So before I had to optimize by creating shapes and algorithms for that, but now it's easier. Can you explain very scanned material, like what is its purpose and plus points? Okay, the purpose of it is to never use it. Because it's a very specific material that you're essentially never going to have an opportunity to use. Jokes aside, it's just something really, really specific of our specific material. So, scan. Let's go. So those are going to be small snippets of specific materials that are specifically scanned for some super important product or very niche product. The problem with this is that it's going to have fixed scale. It's going to need proper mapping. And although it is really well done material, it is super specific and it comes as is. You can edit it, you can try doing something with it, but most of the time it's just not worth it. And to be honest, it's good, but I just never had the opportunity to use it other than this material, which is holographic. I learned a lot from it, so that's something that I really appreciate because that's a good material. But no, I don't use it. Just don't. It's too specific. Honestly, it's too specific. Now we're going to do a second material. That's going to be the soil material. And let's go ahead. Okay, so here we go. We've got our second material, which I've added to my rock soil. Typically you want to use some kind of wood bed, whatever, material, but this will do as well. Okay. If I were your student, you absolutely would be allowed to use the textures I used in the project after a refund. Just kidding. No, those are just the same textures that we gave our student, but you guys don't have it. So that's why I'm, let's say worried about you, not me. I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, let's go for materials again and download it. Let's look for those pebbles. Oh, this is good. Pebbles. Yeah, got it. Now let's add this material in, and we're going to be creating a simple layered material that is going to be also based on multiple small things. Okay, so one thing you're going to also notice in those materials is that the inconsistency of downloaded materials is just off the charts. So we're going to try to make sure that we actually have that consistency. It has no displacement, so I'm going to probably dislike this material, but we're going to be using it for a second anyway. So here we go. We apply this material to our object, and now we got it in. Okay, so how does it render? It renders bad because the settings are really awful at the moment, and it's super flat. So what can we do? First thing I'm going to be doing is make sure that the 3-planar mapping is going to be adjusted. For some reason, some kind of monkey added this value as default. So, okay, let's change it to something that's going to make more sense. So something like 50 is probably going to be better for pebbles. We're using pebbles, not some kind of rocks. So there is a clear distinction. But again, I dislike the way they look like. So, too flat. Let's see, what materials do we have here? Current bitmap, that cannot be it. Oh my god, this is bad. Okay, I'm actually going to use a different texture in a second, but let's continue. And before we get to the point, you're probably going to say, hey, that was easy. Okay, so we've got the second material. Because of the monkeys, we're going to have to add a mapping to it, because one is based on 3-planar map, although I have all materials set as 3-planar, but for some reason, some of them come in the form of a real world map size. That's also another awful thing they do. So now we've got this material, and it's going to be just a little bit better because now this material is going to look like this. This is more realistic, more appropriate, more generally approachable for what we need it for. So we could kind of use both in a second. Okay, now what I want to do is simply mix the materials, but I also want to make sure that I have a little bit of scaling added. Thanks to, well, me being lucky, they only changed I only need to manually change 2 materials instead of 3 or 15, which is often the case. So I'm just going to do that. And now we're going to have even a denser soil in here. Thanks to the fact that it's also randomized, it looks really good. So we're going to keep it. Okay, so this is our base layer. So in this case, I'm going to go for Corona layered material, and as we go, we're just going to be adding first material is going to be our base. It's super easy to describe. Base material is our material, and then comes in the layer. Then you're going to be cutting through the layer by simply adding masks, same as you would in Photoshop. So we've got layer number 1, and it completely overrides what's happening. You can specify what's happening with the displacement, blend all layers, or only base layer. I'm going to go for only base layer because that saves a little bit of those pesky pebbles, and I kind of like how the displacement works in that material. Okay, so that being said, we need the mask. The mask can be based on plenty of objects or ways of doing it, but Corona distance map is going to be the best for the task. In this case, we're going to be distancing ourselves from the already existing or established object, which is our shape. So in this case, I'm going to add it in. Okay, so the problem is that we're essentially using the far near values just like we did the last time, but in this case those are from a non-existing mesh, so you can see that it kind of ghosts the two together. So in order to avoid this problem, I'm going to add another thing to it, extrusion, and I'm going to go higher. So now this produces another problem that we're going to be quickly solving with object properties and clicking the non-renderability for the shape. And again, we've got a little bit better ghosting, but still ghosting. So I need to make sure that the color distance is going to be set to my liking. As we know, we want to show the the soil outside of our shape. Inside, we want the pebbles. So the color far is going to be the color for the second material. So for the first material, because we need this to be positive. So in this case, the far value is white. Color inside is going to be a black. And now I messed up. So we're going to be correcting what I just said. Swaparoo and swaparoo again. So this way I can now decrease this value, and we're going to have a nice transition from pebbles to rocks or vice versa. I still hate the pebbles that I did, but well, it is what it is. We're going to leave it the way it is. I think we could also lower the shape size or the shape limit because it kind of looks lame, but for that I'm going to need to actually create a new shape, and we're going to outline the previous one to make sure that we can continue, because otherwise it's going to be just too big and the transition is not going to be that cool. So we go for that, and now we detach the first one. Where is it? Where's the detach? Geometry, please. Where are you? Come on. Delete. Oh my god. It always happens to me during the live streams. I just suddenly get a brain freeze and I cannot find something that's in front of me. So just give me a second. I'm just blind. Detach. Yes. Okay. Exclude. And now we're going to be excluding this from the far near values. Okie dokie. Extrude goes away. Cut. And we're going to take the second shape. Selected. Come on. Paste it. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but tell me if you can or not. Okay, object properties. Now we're going to go, oh, it's still non-renderable, fine. And now I can play a little bit with the value, so it's going to be a little bit better again. Okay, so because the gradient allows me to create this effect just step by step, it's much better for my needs. Also, we're going to be lowering the color. It's just too bright. I don't like this. I'm just going to lower this diffusion. We don't need it to be as bright. Oh, hi Mike, whoops, I'm late. No, you're not, Rojan. You're here on time. We're still working. So everything is good. Now let's adjust the soil, so Corona color correct. We also need this to be just darker, like, you know, darker. Slight desaturation and much lower gamma. So this is going to be more suiting for what we need it for. Maybe even lower. Okay, I love it. Now it's looking good. It's just something you would see at the woods, right? At the forest, I mean. Nice, we've got really nice transition. The displacement is a little bit too excessive, but we can still live with that. But I'm going to need to actually readjust it. Actually readjust that layer. So we're going to go for blend all layers. So now it's going to be 50% of that soil and 50% of this. So this is going to look much better. Tree planner map goes even lower, 50, because we've got enough space in here. Perfect. Now we can continue, and next thing I'm going to be doing is actually the rocks, or the rock formation material. This is going to be very similar to concrete, but it's going to have a slight trick in it. So allow me to demonstrate. We go for Corona physical material, and the key material here is to find some sort of rocky type of material. So Corona bitmap, and we're going to just go ahead and grab one of the VizAcademy textures. This is one of the textures we provide our students during our training, but it's not something that you just cannot get your hands on any other ways. It's just a very simplistic material. So looking at it, you can see that it's somewhat of a concrete type of material. Now, the thing is that we want to also add a UVW map, thanks to the fact that this map should be seamless. It's going to look perfect no matter what. So I'm going to go ahead and add 200 by 200 by 200 in its mapping. So now we're going to see those nice pebbles. All of them are mapped somewhat similar, but because we're smarter than that, we're going to now overcomplicate it needlessly. So first thing I'm going to be doing is a Corona randomization map, which I always go for in those cases, randomize each element instance, and we're going to go ahead at least for the 360 rotation. This way, all of those rocks are going to get their own texturing from the map, and I think it's going to look fantastic. Next thing I want to do is Corona multi-map, because not only we're going to create something that's going to be multicolored, so it's going to look more natural, mesh element, and you know, this is fully natural, but we can now actually go for just one color and add this gamma randomization, so each rock has a little bit different shade to it. My recommendation for you is to always go slightly lower value than you need in your original color, so the randomization is not going to obsessively go too high, because value higher is much more visible than the value lower. So you want to make sure that you go at least slightly lower so the differences are not as aggressive. And obviously we're going to be also working with roughness. I like adding a little bit of roughness, so they kind of have that shine, but the rocks are too stiff. There's too much imperfection in them, so we're going to need to add some kind of bump. I think the bump in here is going to be enough for those rocks, but in order to actually see it, we're going to be also adding the Corona bump converter. Corona bump converter works very simply on those textures. It works on those textures in a very specific manner. Let's see. We've got some sort of shades of gray, right? So if I control L this, you're going to see that this area is actually not even supplied because there's no color in it. So what bump converter does, it just grabs the lowest and highest value, and then that's the whole spectrum of your bump. So that's basically just a nice way of recalculating the contrast of your texture. Okay, so we've got the contrast, everything is set, but now the most important map for such endeavors, in order to make them look super duper cool, is to go ahead and add so-called corona round edges. But we're not going to just leave it there, obviously. So we've got our additional bump, we've got corner round edges. It looks kind of cool because it has nice radius, but we're going to go ahead and go for 1 centimeter, and we already have those nicer edges all around. It looks kind of cool, I like it, but let's make it super duper cool. In this case, I'm going to need to specify what corona radius map is. A radius map is essentially just opacity, where the bump roundness appears and where it doesn't. For this, we don't need super specific textures. You just need noise and some sort of fractal, lower and higher values, in order to increase the contrast of the texture, something like this. A little bit, and then we're going to be adding it into the radius slot. We can still add a bit of centimeters, and look what this does. So what it did to the model, or to the object, is adding a little bit of this extra small bump visible all the way. You can see those imperfections in here. It's a subtle thing, but with additional bump, it's going to be more visible. So allow me to over exaggerate this effect for a second. So now, once we've got the over-exaggeration, it's still not visible due to the fact that we don't have enough reflection. So now let's go for... Come on. Don't embarrass me. Is it the radius too big? What's going on? Or maybe the noise value is too high. That could be it. No, 5. Okay, let's see the noise, how it looks like as a base color. Yeah, it was just too big. So we're going to go for 5. This should do it. Now that's going to be perfect. We go ahead and re-add this, and now it should be working the way I want it. So we're going to see those small crevices and small imperfections all around our elements. So it's going to allow us to get that one extra small detail once the lighting is correct, once we have that randomization, once the reflections are there. No, it's looking good. Now we're setting up the one radius, okay, and we can now continue, because now we can see those small, very subtle but good looking imperfections. I think we can increase the additional bump by actually changing this same bump in here and lowering the additional bump value to something like 0.1. Don't forget your coffee, Mike. Thank you very much, but I am all out of coffee now. So thank you, but this can only mean that I'm probably getting a little bit slower. Sorry for that. Let's adjust our roughness. Now it's going to be roughness 0.3. Nice, love it. Okay, let's continue, because we haven't yet finished the environment. Now, when most of it's done, we're going to be able to start the trickery. Okay, let's corona. Okay. Got it. Now the trick is to make sure that we've got enough trees behind our object. So I'm just going to, I could use scatter, but I'm too lazy to set it up. So we're just going to copy a couple of them. But Mike, this is going to ruin your viewport performance. And yes, you're right. So in this case, we're going to do this quickly. We're going to be clicking on our objects one by one or all together by corona lister proxies. And in this case, since we all know what the proxies are, select, and we're going to be just changing them to solid bounding box, or better yet, to wire bounding box, to make sure that it's nice and easy and a little bit smarter to work with. And now we're going to be just manually changing their position, rotation, but you can also just do this by changing it by object transfer randomizer. We click on randomization Z and scaling on all axes. Let's go for minus 20% plus 15%, apply, and we're now going to have the perfect randomization of objects, and we're done. So here we're going to now continue, and we can Default IOR is always too reflective for me for most objects, and that's basically due to the fact that the 1.5 is the closest to carbon. We are carbon-based life forms, and most of the objects in our let's say world will inevitably be partially carbonated or partially based on carbon. So that's why the value is that. But to be honest, most of the reflective surfaces in interiors are supposed to be 1.3 and 1.2, because not all objects, although they're based on carbon, are going to have the same properties on the surface. So that was the logic when they were setting up those values that you might, as you noticed, not necessarily love. Okay, so this is a bit cheating, but it's the good type of cheating. You position a big black box behind your camera, but in my case, I don't want this to be in reflection. So I'm going to put it right behind my camera, and I want it to be like here. So I must make sure that this reflection is going to allow this object to not be visible. So what does this do to my scene? It's going to be seen in a second, but I want to make sure that we have a couple of those. I want to have one on the right and one on the left. The reason why I'm positioning the box here is due to the fact that I have sun pointed right on the right side. I don't want the light to be bouncing back. I want it to be lost. This is going to change the mood of the scene entirely, because now less light is allowed to bounce back. So we're now increasing the contrast. This is going to also be a segue to our next step, where we will be adding additional lights into the scene. So this is going to essentially force cool, don't know about the carbon thing. Years ago, it was a huge debate. The topics about IOR values. This was such a wow. Oh, VizAcademy, join our training. Okay, let's go. IOR values reflection. Okay, refraction. I don't want refraction. Tables like this, where you had thousands of objects listed, were always used, and I literally had the refraction index values just printed, and I had to go through it because V-Ray was one of those programs that absolutely relied on it. And the thing is that if you read closely, you're going to see that most of the objects will be somewhere around 1.6, 1.5. Most of them will be, but all of that was such a awful experience. But the things that you have to take away from here is water 1.3, glass is very similar to that. Also, another thing is the diamond and sapphire and rubies. Those are slightly higher. But one thing you need to know and you have to remember is that no matter what people will tell you, the proper IOR is, your artistic vision always takes priority over somebody saying, oh, I know the value. No, it's not important to know the value. It's important to realize your vision the way you want it, not how people would like you to do it. I mean, unless they're your client, then you know you have to kind of respect the game. Okay, so because we're at this stage, I'm now going to be changing one material, and that's going to be my global glass for the top part. So here you can see that this is just one plane, because I am specifically planning on making sure that this is one plane and it is somewhat perfect. The bottom plane is going to be different. So we're going to be creating just this very simple material. It's going to be Corona materials Corona physical, and we do nothing well, it's not something super hard to do. It's just refraction 1 and roughness 0. We apply it, and the thing is that I'm going to be slowly changing the refraction to make sure that the absorption is on. In this case, it's not even important for me to have any kind of additional IOR, but the higher value I'm going to add in here, the more reflection I'm going to see in the windows. So that kind of works with my vision for this shot, which was done by Sebastian, our student. So I'm going to keep it this way. But now I hate that I don't have any reflection here, but I see that there is some reflection of an object behind the camera. So I'm just going to adjust their position a couple of times. And as I mentioned, we're going to be making sure that we have all of those reflections, all of those things done by the book. So all I need to do is reposition this tree. And now you can see that I have much better reflection in here, and it just looks perfect. So another reason why we create the box on the bottom level is something that I pastor my students about all the time, and I'm so sorry guys that I do it all the time, but what we're going to be doing now is adding very similar or the same material to our object, but the thing is that I used some shortcuts that I shouldn't have. So thin option is going to allow me to get a bit something in here, but I want to create a copy of this material for the bottom, because as I said, we're going to do a little bit of imperfections there. So those imperfections are going to be coming from the very same map that we already used, which is going to be corona round edges. Last webinar, if you've been here, you probably see me use this on tiles, and you will absolutely love the fact that once you save this material, you're going to crash 3ds Max, and that's a given. Okay, we can still play with it. Yay. Now let's just turn on the backup 3ds Max and continue. Thank you. So I typically have 3 3ds Maxes open just in case it crashes. I used to even have different states of scenes prepared for the inevitable crash, but just to be totally fair with 3ds Max, it's not necessarily 3ds Max's fault, because no, I was supposed to, no. Let's grab you, thank you. It's not necessarily 3ds Max's fault, because I am doing plenty of things at the same time on multiple programs, and it just happens to crash my 3ds Max at a time. So sorry for that. Okay, where were we? Okay, we've got this glass, and now we're going to be stopping the rendering, so chill. We've got corona mapping randomization, and we're adding maps general, and we're going for noise. By the way, the noise size is supposed to be close to what you need, it's supposed to be close to the value of the size of your window, the height of it. But this way, we're probably not going to get anywhere if we're just going to be sticking to that rule. And one thing, the reason why I'd added thin to the glass is the fact that for the bottom windows, I typically also like adding additional value or additional layers. So I typically create 2 layers of glass, as you can see here. So that way I'm going to have one reflection glass and one that's going to be ghosting. So it's going to be just more realistic, and that's essentially it. Okay, so now with that chopped up reflection, it looks more natural because, well, it's just exactly that. Glass is in the end a liquid, but we don't want this to be 100% bumped. We just want it to be there. So there's some distortion on the glass, but it's not overwhelming. And this is the ghosting effect I was mentioning. So because of the amount of bump we're getting, it creates this second layer of reflection that makes it more look more realistic. At this point, we've got 2 options. We're either going to be using a gamma, lift, and gain. So it works like this. Lift is for dark colors, gamma is for midtones, and gain is for brightness. So if I lower the gain, we're going to be clipping the top, and here we're going to be adding a little bit of brightness to the darkest colors, which is essentially what is going to save this image in the first place. Okay, now the next thing we're going to be doing is still adjusting the environment a little bit. So we need to go for additional lights, but in order to fully make to make them fully functional, I'm going to just position a couple. First light is going to be a simple disk that you typically want to set up to turn off everything. It's not visible, it's not occluding anything, it's there but not there. We want to put it right above our ice wall, and we want this to be a little bit smaller, I guess. Let's go for something like this. We now target it, so it's going to be not only directed but also targeted at the doorway, because we don't want rogue light to be reflected from the bottom, but we want some light to be shining upon this area together. So in this case, I'm going to add some directionality and then some more. And now you can see that we're actually getting a nice lighting in this area, which wasn't there before. I am going to be putting this slightly behind the camera, so I'm going to lit the doorway. So now it looks as if the sun is shining through the trees, which is exactly what I wanted to see in here. So a little bit smaller, a little bit weaker, and a little bit more spread. So that's it. Now that's spread. Now, this is perfect. So we've got our lighting that's going to be helping us get to the doorway. And now we're going to do the same, but from a little bit higher altitude. So we're just going to be doing this, copy, and we're adding another light that's going to be shining somewhere here. This is way too strong, so I'm going to be changing the intensity, adding a lot more directionality, because I want this to be in specific spots. I want to have this light, I want the light to be basically guiding us in this scene. So I want this to be smaller, I want this to be more elegant, and I want this to be a bit warmer. So I want this warmth to be visible. So let's go for laser power at the moment. Oh, by the way, I haven't replied to you for a while. I use IOR 2.2 for glass, always love reflections. Yeah, that's perfect. Classic Max, reliable moment, case improve, I don't know what that means. Streaming can put pressure on system as well. That's why 3ds Max crashes, I guess. Yes, it's mostly that. I'm a furniture designer. I want to learn product rendering, but still I'm not able to get it. Well, Austin, in this case, if you are into product design and product rendering, you're in the perfect place to start your journey. The most important step is the first step, because remember that no matter what you do, who you are, you need to start somewhere. And VizAcademy is the right start for most of you. I'm not saying that it's perfect for all of you, because people like or dislike different things. But I know one thing for a fact, that our students create highest quality renders on the market, and our students create those from scratch on their own, because they learned. They're not repeating what's in the videos, because we make sure that when you sign up to VizAcademy, we work not only with videos, conferences, and live support, but we also make sure that, whoa, not this one, wrong Instagram, I almost showed you mine, which is not bad. It's just that there's too many of my friends out there, so that doesn't need to be necessarily part of the webinar, you know. So let's see what we've got on our Instagram real quick. Here we go. Internet, please work. So all of those students, all of those people, all of those amazing artists that create those images, those are not mine. Those are created by my students. That's most of them started from zero. Also, I'm not going to lie, we also have a couple of professionals that come our way, and some of those professionals will create something amazing, and always it's in the end going to be a very beautiful image created by somebody just like you. So I want you guys to consider our school as the right starting point, or the point where you can top up your skills to get a little bit better with your craft. The most important thing to be a tutor is that the students are getting a lot of attention, and honestly they are. I still talk to my students literally right now. I mean, not right now, but after our training is finished, I still keep in touch with them because I think that no matter how much I try to teach them, how much knowledge I'm going to try to put in their heads, the thing is that you cannot really pack all the possible knowledge about 3ds Max or any software really into a training, or a 7-week training. So in this case, I want to specify one thing. VizAcademy is not just a one-shot. It's not a school that's going to be, let's say, outdated in a couple of weeks. We consistently and constantly re-record our videos, we create new content, and everything we do, we make sure that it's up to date. We're not only teachers, we're also working in the industry, so we know what's up, we know what's going on, we know what our students need, and we know what demand is on the market. And currently, obviously, the demand is very high for AI content and AI specific workflows. So that's why we added it into our school. But that being said, now I'm creating another Corona light that's going to be shining upon the entrance, because I really want to make sure that we look at that area, and that's the most important part of our shot. Also, let's adjust the sun a little bit. The view goes higher. Okay, now we're going to be adding intensity to the sun, and we're going to be probably moving one of the trees because maybe it's producing just a little bit too much shadow. Let's hide you for a second. Yeah, that helped a lot. So we're moving you away. Sorry, 3. Perfect. Now I love it. What I noticed is this webinar is that your colleagues are very engaged and enthusiastic. I love that. Well, I like doing it. It's not only my passion, but honestly, there are our students in the chat, right? Like, for example, Ahmed. He came back here not because I was some sort of strickler, some kind of douchebag that just took your money and said goodbye. No, it's totally different. We actually like you guys, and I mean it. I like my students. I like working with them, and that's mostly what drives us. And not just the fact that we love architecture, we love art, but most importantly, it's the people, right? There's no point doing anything if it doesn't give you joy. So yes, some will be purely focused on this as their job, which I totally respect. But if there's an opportunity for us to have a little bit of fun along the way, I'm not going to miss out on that opportunity. So yeah, let's continue going through our render. Now, here I'm trying to position this additional light to just make sure that there's that extra small amount of light that's going to be adding that shininess to my scene overall. It is super important for me to get that because it's going to enhance the looks of all the materials, and now you can see this effect happening on the top thanks to the fact that we also added those extra lights. But that being said, I kind of want more of it, so we're now going to go ahead and edit some of the trees. Typically when editing your trees, you don't the reason why you actually add as little trees as possible is that you want to make sure that you fully control the amount and type of assets you're working with. So I'm going to try to make sure to use 1 tree, 2 trees, or basically just 5 or 6 assets like this to make sure that I don't have to overdo the editing if there's too many of them, because honestly it's overwhelming even for me. So here I'm going to give you the recipe for most of the trees, downloaded trees. Those materials on those pine trees are good, and there's nothing to say about it. So whoever made it, congrats. It's part of the good assets of Corona Chaos Scatter. Corona color correct, and here we go. We've got our bitmap, and we just want to make sure that we add this in, and we now go for the translucency color. The translucency color, you typically want to go for gamma or just one value higher brightness. This is a little bit too much, so I'm going to go for 0.75 because I want this to have this light shining through effect. Because those leaves for some reason are not set to thin, we're going to set it to thin, and we're going to be making sure that the same value is going to, the value of 0.4 is going to be added to it. Now look what just happened. We've got this beautiful effect happening out of nowhere and just came in all beautiful and glistening. So 0.3 is going to be my go-to value, and tree trunks do appear to be a little bit too dark for me, so I'm going to also increase that, but this is going to be 2.3 gamma, just so it's brighter. I just want it to be brighter. The scene is dark enough, so I want this to be a little bit happier. So here we go. We're going to now copy this color on a color correct because I want to reuse it for the second part. So here I'm going to disconnect it. Those are two different textures, so I cannot reuse it because those are two different pine trees, but it's okay. In this case, I'm just going to reconnect this, no adjustment needed, and here we go to corona translucency color. Corona translucency is basically just the see-through amount, how much light is going to pass through the object. And it's very, very important that you put this value into your scene, because otherwise it's just not going to be as beautiful. So we add a little bit of that extra tint, and now we're going to still sleep on the gamma a little bit, so the contrast is back. Let's go for this, and 0.05, that's still too much. 0.3, that's enough. Now we're going to be adding a little bit of next vignetting. Vignetting typically 1 or 0.1. We've got it. Now most of those plants are looking good. I kind of like it, but maybe I'm going to also make it a little bit brighter because maybe I overdid it this time. Okay. Sometimes we're going to run into this type of material where everything is just bonkers. There's double textures, everything is just weird, and how do I edit this? Well, the first thing you do is you say, oh, who the heck made it? And just make sure that you simplify. The front back material is done by monkeys, and only monkeys will say, oh, you need it. No, you don't. You just wanted to make it complicated because you're a snob. And in this case, we're just going to remove what's and we're just going to put it into its right place. Look at this. We've got two textures that are very similar to what we did. How about we not create a specific textures for that, and instead just use the right tool for it, which is corona color correction. Who would have thought of that? Now we're going to add this, and look at that. We've got the same result, but less textures. No way. This is impossible. So the reason why I want to add a little bit of gamma here is to make sure that the translucency is better, but at the same time translucency is good, and color is fine. Now let's look at the rest of the textures and see if we can do anything else to the material, the base material. And I think we can, because I always make sure that my base material is going to be working with the secondary material, which is the corona color correct later. Yeah, I don't want to use other words. It's just, you know, I sincerely dislike the way it works, and if I could, I would use a stronger language. Okay, hue, let's adjust it a little bit. Oh my god, this absolutely did not happen. Guys, my keyboard just died. I need new batteries. Guys, well, we're going to take a short break for me to find a replacement battery. 1 minute, I'll now be right back. 1 second. How do I? My god. Oh. Hi, my name is Mike and welcome to VizAcademy webinar. Hey, nice to see you again, and sorry for that. It was unexpected, but it was needed apparently, and now my keyboard is working, so let's go ahead and add some values to our image. So the thing is that I want to just change the leaves color, and the second color doesn't matter for me that much. We got just a little bit of leaves and a little bit of that green in here. So what's going on? If I change this level to 0, you can see that it's just turning back to black. So we want to make sure that our hue is changed either towards more red, or we want to turn it back into blue. In this case, I want it to be more red, so I'm adding negative values to so it fits the scene, the idea a little bit better. Okay. For wide view render, my personal opinion, get 32 gigabytes of RAM if you can. That's really good idea. Yes. So let's see it. Let's continue. Now I think we can adjust this a little bit further. So I'm going to make this a bit thinner at the front. So this is going to look a little bit, yeah, it looks more organized instantly. Also, let's move it slightly to the right. Okay, love it. So, okay, what else can we do? We need some background. So for that, we're going to make sure that we change the direct visibility override. And for the background, we're also going to need a couple of more trees. So this one tree is going to also be copied here, enlarged and copied here. So now we're going to have fuller reflection, but the same principle applies to the behind of our scene. Now, because of the perspective, we're not seeing the objects as we should. So we're going to be cheating, and we're going to be putting them mid-air and rotating them to enlarge the believability of the scene. Nobody's going to be checking if those trees are big or small enough, but we just want to keep them consistent. So that's the key word, consistency. And now once we've got it, we're now going to do the utmost ridiculous thing possible, and we're going to be using this richer tree, the one that has more geometry in it. We're going to add this, and we're going to be scaling it down like ridiculously low, like this, and I'm going to be putting it right behind this area where the corridor is. So I'm blocking it out to make sure that we actually have some light passing through, but also we have this nice tree to look at. So I need it to be even lower. So I want to see the tree crown like this, and I want this 5 times more. I mean, we need to repeat this a couple of times to make sure that we've got our background filled. So here and here. So okay, and now we're also going to be adding some sort of soil, ground, plane, so that the light doesn't come from below our scene, because the sky is going to still work that way. So gray color is going to be good, or black is also going to be fine. In this case, it's not going to be visible, but it's going to have a visual impact on the scene and how the light is going to be spread. So thanks to the fact that we added those trees, now we've got a little bit of those rays going shining through. Bloom and glare is on, and now we're going to be changing the sky itself, specifically by following this very simple rule. Direct visibility override is what we see directly on the sky without any kind of media. So for example, no glass, no water, no vapor even. But in this case, you're going to see that now the sky is going to be fully dark, which is okay. You need bigger RAM for big scenes. Yes, and you need fast RAM for those scenes. So we can now see that with a little bit darker tones on our sky, the scene is looking fabulous. So we're going to be making sure that we continue with that trend and create new. Typically, I like to rename one of the tabs to environment, because this is where I typically change all the environmental maps, so I don't have to look around. It's a it's not needed, but it helps. Okay, now we could leave it be, but I want to work with Corona Sky copy to make sure that I can change it also, because the original is supposed to have a little bit lower turbidity, so there's a clearer sky and more ambient light going on or going in to our scene. So again, it's going to make all of those lights a little bit better. In the end, I'm going to adjust some of the materials still, but now this is going to be recalculated via the following: Corona color correction, which is something I absolutely love. Why we don't just change the intensity in here? Because that's not going to be fun, all right? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and apply the direct visibility override with my map. And because I want to be very naughty, I'm going to go for exposure -1, -2. And now we're seeing what I want. So in here, we're getting the right color where everything is nice and bright. We could add a little bit more trees in a second, but the fun part is that we're blatantly going to be adding a little bit of tint to it. So it's going to still have that bluey tone on the sky. Maybe not so much, because that's way too much, but this is very important to at least adjust. It is very important to adjust your sky a little bit to make sure that you're going to get the result you're after, because the default is going to be this, and minus exposure plus color is going to be richer. So this is going to essentially make your scene look more, well, it's just going to make it look more professional. And in the end, we're going to remove a couple of extra trees. So we're going to be repositioning those in the area so that we create a bit less noise or clatter in the clouds. So basically that. And now, speaking of clouds, we can now turn on enable clouds to make sure that the direct visibility is going to show us some of those nice looking clouds. Variety, let's leave it be, but amount, I'm going to increase that, because in the end, I want this to be lazy summer day in the woods. So it's going to, where are the clouds? What's going on? Hide unselected. Where are the clouds? Okay, so we're going to change the steed a little bit then. Maybe, I was just checking if everything is okay. So, okay, offset, offset, offset. Let's change the altitude, so those are lower. And then we're going to change the seed to make sure, oh, this is going to look perfect. And now, unhide all, because we had that area here, so it should fill in the gap really nicely. Now, on top of it, we're going to be adding just a little bit of LUT. So the first one is going to be nearly perfect, but I want this to be just a little bit lower. And maybe the sky is actually too dark. Let's re-add this in. So just 0.5 then. Because I want this to be visible, but I don't want this to be overriding every brightness value in our scene, right? And now we're going to add another thing, which is the second material, which was supposed to be partially on our scene. So let's go ahead and apply a couple of those materials. By the way, not all values are going to be exactly the same as in the original. So I'm going to be posting the scene after the webinar. So it's going to be a nice follow along tutorial for you. So it's going to be in our posts. Wood, oak, let's go for the oak that I created the last time. I think I need more of that brown. Maybe here. Is it going to look good? Nah, not really. Looks awful. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, guys. So now a creme de la creme that you can also add for scenes like this, especially with a specified lighting like that. This is not an unnecessary move, but you can just do it as a you know, cherry on the top. You can add a gigantic box to hide everything in your scene, and then we're going to go for Corona volume material. Corona volume material. Here we go. 150, and now we've got a little bit of foggy scenario here, right? So that's cool, but we want this fog to have a bit of color. The color is supposed to be closer to white. And now we're going to be adding larger values for absorption, first 15 meters to see how the light shines. Now I'm going to go for 150 meters. So I want this to have just a dash of that effect in it. And in the end, we're going to be ensuring that it's going to be nice and subtle by changing the scattering color to as close to white as possible, but not white yet. So it's not going to be overwhelming. Same can go for absorption, but it's basically one or the other. Now, with the value set to positive, you're going to closer to 0.8 or 9, you're going to be creating so-called God rays. So we're going to wait a couple of seconds for that, and you're going to see that this light is shining through in this very nice organized way. It's just streaks or lasers in there. But if I'm going to go for the opposite, negative value, it's going to create it's supposed to create more of a halo effect, but it's also going to be dependent on what lights we have in our scene. And you can see that I've added this physically incorrect light in front of our camera, and I should have excluded that element, but in the end I'm just going to go for 0.9 to make sure that the laser shines in, that everything is nice and dandy. And we can adjust some of the elements by simply doing one thing that everybody is also now using, and that is obviously going to be VizMaker and AI. So this is going to be a quick way of getting into it, because remember that if you want to start your career as a 3D artist, you have to have the basics. Your 3D software is the most important part of the whole journey. Next is going to be all the rest. So the additional software, enhancers, and something that I personally recommend, because well, VizAcademy is responsible for creation of it, is VizMaker. VizMaker is a software that will help you streamline your 3D work in terms of AI work in terms of 3D. So you're basically going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to get reliable rendering from 3ds Max, and then once your renderer is more or less done, you're then going to be able to take it to the next level thanks to the built-in tools. And again, for exteriors, I don't overdo it. I just try to make sure that my work happens in 3D, because that's where I'm creating most of the stuff. So let's save the image, take it to VizMaker, and that's where we're going to now give it a bit of enhancing. For all the exterior scenes, what I like doing the most, and I mean the most, after a little bit of rendering, your PC is smooth. What CPU do you have? At the moment, I'm using Ryzen 9 9950X, but I wouldn't call it necessarily smooth, because there are better computers out there, and because I don't know how advanced you are in terms of computers, but when it comes to this processor, it has the TPM, so the how's it called? I forgot a word. So it transcribes your data to reverse of deciphering. So it's the chip that overcomplicates the data that's being sent over the internet, and it often gives you a stutter, so you have to turn it off. If you don't know it, you're going to suffer. Also, it's a lottery, because sometimes you're going to get a bad chip. So honestly, it's one of the best on the market, but it's still not something I would say is up to. It's not something I would. It's not something I would be super glad to recommend to you guys. Yes, I would, but at the same time, not really. So, okay, let's go for this browser, please. Oh my God. Let's close this. Let's close that. For some reason, I was logged out of my own account. So we're going to restart VizMaker. I was trying to buy myself a little bit of time, but now look at that. So we're using this account. Sorry for logging in off screen, you know, logins. Okay, got it. So, By the way, I'm working with some influencers. Okay, let's go for this one. The mood is a little bit different, I'll give you that, than the original, but I went for a little bit of creative endeavor here. We could get it by the book and straight exactly as the original, but honestly, both ways is okay. Okay, so we're going to be changing in some of the elements, and I'm going to be showing you some of the things that I believe are the most important when it comes to your exteriors. So first of all is the drawing option for the exteriors. So you could add some sort of changes last minute. So rock to a small shrub. This is something that you will often do, but that's just one of the things you will be doing with AI, because some changes are not worth re-rendering. Sometimes you just want to make it real quick and be done with it. But most importantly, something that I believe is just the best is one of the prompts here. First of all, the night shot, then it's the rain shot, and we've got something that's absolutely amazing. It's the winter shot. It's simple, it's basic, but it helps you get something absolutely amazing. And we've got a totally different scene already because we changed the mood. Now we could go for something else. We've got night shot in seconds. It took into account where the sun was, which is perfect, and it was just easy for me to do. And the second, we've got another shrub, which is perfect. It's just quick, easy. This used to take freaking years to complete, and suddenly we've got right off the bat winter version of the shot, which is just perfect. And it mistook some of the elements, but again, a rainy mood. Look at that. We can do multiple versions of our scenes in seconds, which is perfect. But most importantly, and something that you absolutely cannot do sometimes, is if you're on a tight deadline, you have to go for upscaling, and this saved my life so many times. I cannot even count it, because sometimes you have to do a render. It's going to take a while, and that while is not in your budget, so you need to cheat a little bit. This was let's say this was considered cheating years ago. Now it's just standard. So we're in the cheating business. So the thing is that once you render your shot, and in my case, it's 700 pixels, right? We can upscale it ×2 with no additional input out of my side. We can change this, get twice as big image, and if it had enough quality, we would have much higher quality as well. But I'm giving this software a super blurry version of my shot, and look at that, we've got beautiful upscaling with perfect pebbles. Finally, those pebbles look good, and I love it. So this is what I use my AI for once I start working. This is basically what I use it for in exteriors when working with specific clients. But there's one thing that you can also do, but it's absolute cheating, and honestly, it's just cheating, nothing else. But you can also do a drone view. But if you have a specific markers that you can add in as an extra input, it's just going to change it into guys, did I just kill the stream? Guys, guys, I was streaming, but I'm not sure if you were able to see me. Tell me if the stream was working or not, because I don't know where I got cut off. So sorry for this. So sorry. Let's see if it's okay. It worked. Okay. Whew. I had all the browsers closed, so I thought that I killed the stream. Oh my god. Oh my god. For like 10 minutes. I thought that I talked to myself. Now, the absolute cheat is going for the drone shot, and you can see why. It just created something that is absolutely mesmerizing, taking into account all the objects as they are and reimagining all the rest. So this is absolutely amazing. Hello, sir. I joined your class late. Am I getting a punishment? Well, I cannot punish you, but if you're going to participate in our next week's lesson, so to speak, which is going to be a short portfolio review for you guys, so we can check your images, how you're working, with additional questions. For example, how do I do this? How do I that? How do I improve this image? We're going to do that and much more for you guys, so you can learn a little bit more, so the community actually grows and gets better. Now, guys, I think we're going to end this here because we basically went through everything that we could in this specific scene. We went through lighting, cheating, we did some more cheating, and then some materials. Then we created some, first we created some terrain, but now once we have our render, not even fully rendered, we can take it to VizMaker and have something absolutely mesmerizing out of it, basically for free. So again, we're going to be now also making sure that you remember that VizAcademy is an online school that will teach you how to create beautiful renders in less than 7 weeks. So guys, honestly, if you want to become my student, go ahead and click on available dates, check what's going to be available. At the moment, you can apply to the at the end of the May, we're starting our next group. Type in your email, so that's going to be Mike at UK. Get started, and then you're going to be taken to the next step. So this is going to be it for today, but remember to like, subscribe, so we can create even more content like this. This is it for me, and within like 10 minutes I'm going to be posting that that scene for you to enjoy, the starting point. And if this video also gets enough attention, I promise I'm going to give you the full scene for free, but you need to be active in the comments, because that's something that I really need. I always wait for Thursday. Thank you. It's so nice. It's guys, thank you. That's all. See you next time. Bye.